Another ally of the socialist left is the deep state. The police agencies of government, the IRS, the FBI, the CIA, the DOJ. One of its early targets was Catherine Engelbrecht, whose organization, True the Vote, investigates allegations of voter fraud. So you file your application for nonprofit status for True the Vote with the government, and then what happens?
Well, then suddenly, we began being visited by an alphabet soup of federal agencies, starting with the FBI, requesting to see member manifests, meaning that they wanted to find out who was attending our meetings and what we were talking about. That then moved to the IRS, who came in and began auditing our personal taxes and our business taxes. In a period of 18 months, I went through 23 different audits or investigations or inquiries, 23.
What were some of the things that the IRS wanted to find out about you?
They wanted to know every Facebook posting I've ever posted and every tweet I'd ever tweeted and everywhere I'd ever spoken since the inception of the organization and to whom and what I said and if I was going to run for political office and who was on my board. And they wanted to know things that amounted to opposition research.
Why would they target you?
I think they saw that True the Vote was going to, for the first time, ask the tough questions and ask citizens to take a look for themselves into an area that has long been the bastion of the radical left.
Did you realize even then that this mobilization of powerful institutions represented the weaponization of the U.S. government against you and what you were doing?
I didn't want to believe it, but it was undeniable.
Do you believe in the deep state?
I lived it.
The deep state's ultimate target is Trump. They've been talking about impeaching him ever since he ran for office.
I'm concerned that if we don't impeach this president, he will get reelected.
Because we're going to go in there, we're going to impeach the mother.
He is a dictator. This must not stand.
He's impeached forever.
The organized attack on Trump began with a young staffer on the Trump campaign, George Papadopoulos. I met with him and his wife, Simona. I want to talk to you about a series of characters who came into your life in those crucial months in the spring and summer of 2016. First, you ran into a fellow named Joseph Mifsud. Who is Joseph Mifsud?
Joseph Mifsud is the infamous overseas professor characterized by Bob Mueller and the FBI as a Russian agent. There could be nothing further from the truth.
Ironically, Simona, you knew Joseph Mifsud.
Joseph Mifsud is somebody who has many ties to intelligence, in particular Western intelligence.
So what you're saying is that Joseph Mifsud, far from being a Russian agent, is actually part of what you would call the
Western intelligence.
The Western deep state. So here comes this guy Mifsud, and he meets you.
Over brunch one day, he leans over in a conspiratorial manner. He tells me, George, I've just come back from Russia, and I've learned that the Russians have Hillary Clinton's emails. It's quite clear that he was an operative who was supposed to deliver this information to me with the hope that I would then transmit it to the campaign, which would eventually create a conspiracy case. I never told anybody on the campaign about emails.
So Mifsud exits the scene. And so another character is now dispatched to meet you, Stefan Halper.
I didn't understand that he was tied directly and indirectly to the CIA and to the MI6.
What was he saying to you?
He was accusing me and Donald Trump and the campaign of working with Russia and WikiLeaks and to coordinate this email release. And what I told him, what you're talking about is treason.
You now encounter a guy named Charles Towell.
He characterized himself as an Israeli businessman who knew about my work and wanted to hire me as a consultant. Immediately upon landing in Israel, I'm brought to a hotel where I'm in a room with Charles Towell, and there's $10,000 in his hand, in cash.
So the money was ostensibly for this research that you were supposed to do, correct?
That's right.
You arrive later in Dulles Airport.
As soon as I land at Dulles Airport, I see a badge flipped out. So this is the FBI, come with us. 2 agents walk me into this side room. FBI agent 1 rummaging through my luggage.
Looking presumably for the $10,000, right?
That's absolutely right.
And did they find it?
No. And
why not?
They didn't find the money because I left it with a lawyer in Greece. I ask FBI agent 2, what's going on? What did I do here? This is what happens when you work for Donald Trump. The next moment I looking down, my hands are being put in handcuffs, my ankles are shacked, where I'm then taken to a dirty cell in Alexandria.
So you were drawn, Simona, directly into this plot in an encounter with the FBI. Did they want you to wear a wire on George?
Yes, they wanted me to cooperate with them and basically spy on them.
So George, here you are under arrest, charged with what?
Lying to the FBI and obstruction of justice.
What was the penalty?
35 years in prison.
So this is a story of how your own country's intelligence agencies, in cohorts with the intelligence agencies of other Western countries, conspired together to entrap you into making admissions that were in fact not true, with a view of using you against Trump. True or false?
Absolutely true. And the evidence backs it all up now.
Corruption in government goes all the way to the top, according to author and researcher Peter Schweitzer. Peter, when I listen to leading figures on the political left railing against multimillionaires and billionaires, I kind of get the impression that they don't care about money. But they do care about money, don't they?
Absolutely, and they show it in all sorts of ways, especially when it comes to their own finances. The Bidens have done very well, and Joe Biden's been very sophisticated and shrewd in the way he's done it. He's essentially offshored the corruption, which means he's been in politics, was in politics for more than 40 years, and during that time, his net worth really didn't grow. But what did grow was the net worth of his family members. A politician like Joe Biden, he has to disclose if he has $1,000 in General Electric stock. He has to disclose if he gets a $200 campaign contribution. But if his brother gets a massive government contract, if his son does a massive private equity deal with a foreign government, there's no disclosure requirement.
Let's track a little bit of the Biden family racket. Biden's brother, James Biden.
Go back to November of 2010, a guy named Kevin Justice shows up at the vice president's office in the White House. 3 weeks later, Kevin Justice appoints James Biden, who has no experience, as the new executive vice president of Hillstone, a construction company that he has just formed. Then 6 months, this new construction company lands a contract to build 100,000 homes in Iraq.
And what is that contract worth?
About $1.5 billion. During this time, Joe Biden was the point person on Iraqi reconstruction.
Now, there's another Biden brother.
I'm Frank Biden. I'm the non-attorney senior advisor to clients statewide.
So Frank Biden had been a largely unsuccessful real estate agent in Florida. His brother is elected vice president of the United States in 2009, and he decides he's going to get into the energy business. His brother, in the spring of 2009, makes a trip to Costa Rica, meets with Costa Rican President Arias. Within a couple of months, Frank Biden is in Costa Rica. He has meetings with Costa Rican government officials, and he signs an exclusive deal with the Costa Rican National Power Company for green energy projects in Costa Rica. His company, Sun Fund Americas, is involved in a project that includes $47 million in taxpayer-backed loans in Jamaica.
Let's turn to Hunter Biden. In 2013, Hunter Biden accompanies his father, Joe Biden, Vice President of the United States, to China.
Hunter Biden is there because he's trying to finalize this incredible deal. It's a private equity deal expanded to $1.5 billion. The Chinese government is putting money into this deal.
And is it a deal to invest in the Chinese economy in ways that are not typically open to Western investors?
Yes, this is the key. Hunter Biden has no background in private equity. He has no background in China. He gets a deal through the Shanghai Free Trade Zone that nobody else operating in China has. The Chinese have had a strategy throughout the Asia-Pacific region of striking deals with the family members of political figures like Joe Biden because they expect favorable policies in return. And if you look at Joe Biden's trajectory as an official as it relates to talking about China when he was a senator to now when he's vice president and then afterward. He has become incredibly soft in his criticism of China.
It is in our self-interest that China continue to prosper.
And I personally believe it is directly linked to the fact that his son was doing multiple deals with the Chinese government at the time that he was vice president of the United States.
Was there a Biden family racket in Ukraine?
Oh, absolutely. Go back to 2014. Barack Obama says, I want Joe Biden to be the point person for policy towards Ukraine, which means all aid dollars. Within 3 weeks of that appointment, a Ukrainian energy company called Burisma starts writing checks to the vice president's son. They were $83,333 a month, paid twice, because both Hunter Biden and his business partners are on the board of directors, and that amounts to $1 million each per year. These payments started in the spring of 2014 and continued for almost 5 years. And these 300-page documents show that's the amount that they were paid consistently every month.
Now, there was a Ukrainian prosecutor looking into all this. What happened to him?
We have a tape of Joe Biden bragging about how he gets Mr. Shokin fired.
We're not going to give you the $1 billion. They said, you have no authority. You're not the president. The president said. I said, call him. I said, I'm telling you, you're not getting the $1 billion. I said, you're not getting the $1 billion. I'm going to be leaving here. And I think it was, what, 6 hours? I looked, I said, I'm leaving in 6 hours. If the prosecutor's not fired, you're not getting the money. Well, son of a bitch. Got fired.
Of course, Biden denies wrongdoing.